Deadman Talk with My Dad by James M. Morris. I am about to reveal a secret shielded from my mother by me, my daddy, and Jack Lawson for 69 years. Mother has passed the century mark in age. Daddy and Jack have passed on for reasons not related to this story, and I don't aim to tell Mom. So, it's up to you to protect Daddy's reputation in Mom's loving eyes. It's best this remains our secret. Now, it started before I started school. We lived on a farm and ranch operation in the rolling plains of West Texas. It was a family operation. My dad needed reliable farm labor. Not understanding that I had already been conscribed to service at birth, I applied, and to my surprise was hired on an ad hoc basis, meaning I got to help when my older brother was not available. On our family farm, it was customary at that time in history that the whole family provided labor to run the farm. I was usually activated to duty helping Dad feed the cows in the winter or follow him in the pickup when he moved equipment from one field to another. Sometimes I got to just ride along for the experience. Dad always said, "You don't get paid for helping in money, but you do get paid in experience." I was thrilled. Dad loved the farm. He was a man of strong character and a good judge of it in other people. He referred to us as helpers rather than workers. Workers are not always helpful, he would say. They are dime a dozen. Helpers who are willing to work, on the other hand, are valuable. That's what I want you to be. Unfortunately, I frequently challenge that definition. Dad was a hard worker. He was up at dawn, worked all day at a fast trot, and quit when the sun enticed the eyelid of heaven to slowly convert daylight to dark with intervening displays of colorful splendor. Dad was also strong. Although standing only 5 feet 10 inches, his muscular body was evenly proportioned, leaving no doubt of his athletic abilities. We witnessed that trait later as we grew, trying to catch and survive his underhand pitches that won him acclaim as a softball fast-pitch baseball player in the service. We played basketball behind the house and marveled at his accuracy to make goals using an antique precursor to the jump shot. Dad taught us valuable lessons, such as, if one is good, two is twice as good. You can't get a nut on a bolt too tight unless you break it. Do not put off until tomorrow what you should have done yesterday. It's better to do something wrong several times yourself than to hire someone to do it wrong once. At least then you will know how to fix it. Work cattle early in the morning. Plow fields from early in the morning until it's too dark to work. Cleaning out the chicken house, cattle guards, and digging post holes manually builds character. Always use a strong piece of bodark to build dead man on a fence corner. A good education will give you options. And his favorite, get up and hurry up. When we went places with Dad in the old 1949 Chevy pickup, Dad let us ride in the bed of the truck. If we were on a paved or county dirt road, we had to sit down in the bed. A different rule usually applied if we were bumping around over the pasture or a turning row of a cultivated field. Under those circumstances, we were permitted to sit on the side of the truck or on the tailgate if it was down. Those rides sometimes presented dangers or got salty if, for example, we were chasing a cow across a pasture, but we'd survive. Dad also taught us to operate machinery at an early age. I can remember driving the pickup in the pasture while Dad tossed out hay or cottonseed cake. I had to stand up to reach the brake, the clutch, and the accelerator pedal to make the truck stop and go. He would put the truck in granny gear, and I would sit on my knees to see above the dashboard to steer the vehicle. It would rumble along at a slow speed without depressing the accelerator pedal. To stop, I would stand on the floorboard and put one foot on the clutch and one foot on the brake. That rarely resulted in a smooth stop. Most of the time, I wouldn't get both pedals pushed far enough at the same time, causing the truck to lurch, killing the engine. But it would stop. If not, Dad would hop in and stomp the clutch and take it out of gear. My job was to get over before we ran over a mesquite tree, fence, or into a creek. But together, we got the job done. One infamous incident stands out in my memory. At the age of 6, I got to drive the Massey Ferguson 65 tractor from the Lewis place to the home place, a distance of about 6 miles. It was all on dirt roads, except for about 1/4 of a mile. The tractor had a 4-row plow attached to it, used to remove weeds from row crops planted in furrows, like cotton or maize. It was called a knifer. When using it, you were said to be knifing the crop. This piece of equipment had 4 pairs of metal shields about 6 inches tall and 16 inches long that slid along the bottom of each furrow to protect the young plants from soil sliding on top of them. Each furrow shield had a metal blade, called knives, attached at the bottom of each shield at an angle, like the swept wings of a jet airplane, designed to slice through the mound of soil on either side of the furrow to cut the roots of any weeds. Each knife was tapered on each leading edge like a knife. A knifer could be equipped with 2 small plows at the back of each pair of shields to gently fold soil around the base of the plants to smother small weeds in the furrows. Our 4-row knifer was considerably wider than the width of the tractor, and that did not include the length of the knives extending on both sides of the implement. Viewed from the front, a tractor with a 4-row knifer attached would reveal 2 sharp metal blades slicing through the air at about waist height on each end of the implement. On this day, as I passed the northeast corner of the Slayton place, I saw 2 pickup trucks parked on each side of the road, about 1/4 of a mile ahead. The vehicles were parked as far off the dirt roadway as possible. As I approached, I could see my dad leaning against his truck, talking to Jack Lawson, who was also leaning against his truck on the opposite side of the narrow dirt road. I had the tractor in road gear, the fastest gear possible. By today's standards, I believed I was moving at warp speed towards this restricted passageway in the road. The tractor had graded platforms on either side of the differential housing, connecting the engine with the rear wheels, which also served as the place to put the seat. Independent brake pedals were placed on the platform, which, to a grown man, would also be the place to rest your feet. Unfortunately, my legs were not long enough to reach those pedals without standing upright on the platform while straddling the body of the tractor. That lowered my level of sight from when I was seated. The throttle was a small metal bar on the left side of the base of the steering wheel. As I approached the restricted passageway, I concluded there was ample room to slip the tractor and knifer between the visiting farmers. My 6-year-old brain saw no reason to slow down. Instead, it gave me an opportunity to demonstrate my superior tractor driving skills. I set up extra tall, aimed my tractor and the knifer for the middle of the space between the 2 men. My anxiety increased about the time I reached the point of no return, so I kept a steady grip on the steering wheel and focused intently on staying exactly in the middle. Milliseconds before I reached critical mass, I saw both men jerk back as they sucked in their stomachs with looks of horror or amazement on their faces. I was not sure which. In that split second, I assumed it was a look of admiration for my driving skill, and then it was over. I was clear of danger. I breathed a sigh of relief as I glanced back and saw both men looking in my direction and smiled, believing they were probably praising my driving skills. Before I got to the corner of our land, Daddy caught up to me, and I let him pass. He was at the house when I arrived and directed me to park the tractor near the gasoline tank in front of the chicken coop. As I was climbing down from the tractor, Daddy said, "You scared the bejesus out of Jack and me back there. Your knives came within inches of slicing into us. What were you thinking? Why didn't you slow down or stop?" I think he could see the surprise on my face as I said, "I thought I had plenty of room. So I just aimed for the middle and held her steady. By the time I got close enough to really see the size of the space, I was afraid I couldn't manage the throttle and get both feet on the brakes good enough to stop the tractor straight. But I really thought I had plenty of room, Dad. Did I hit Jack?" At that point, I saw Daddy's expression change. I think he must have realized he was part of the problem. He said, "No, Jack's fine. It just scared him a little. He remarked that you sure were a fine tractor driver and hit that hole with precision. But I don't think he appreciated it, or me, for letting you do it. But it's okay. You did a fine job. Just remember, next time, slow down, or even stop if you need to, okay?" I agreed, and then as we walked to the house, he rubbed my head and grinned as he said, "This may be another one of those things we need to keep among the men folk and not tell Mother about, okay?" I looked up at him with pride, grinned, and said, "Deadman Talk, right, Dad?" He held up his thumb and said, "Right." And he lifted me over the front yard fence, and we went to the house for supper. Thank you. The end.